Karna. On the vast, lush green grass, a deep sigh was heard. A young man lay sprawled out with a careless demeanor, his heart weighed down by the miserable fate he had been dealt. With a blade of grass in his mouth, he lamented his misfortune, cursing the heavens and the earth. He had thought that if he were to transmigrate, he would become the chosen one, granted a divine system that would make everything as easy as writing words on paper. But no, he sat up and fed a tuft of grass to the cow beside him. The young man sighed tiredly. A person like me with no spiritual power is destined to be nothing more than a cowherd. In just 2 days, I'll turn 16, and then I'll be conscripted into the border army, just to become cannon fodder on the battlefield. Suddenly, a surge of spiritual energy approached the cow. It shot straight into the old beast, causing the young man to fall backward in shock. The cow's entire body began to glow, its eyes sparkling like stars as it gazed at him. Deep in thought, the cow muttered to itself, 500 years. I've finally found the right person. It seems my time has not yet come. Staring dumbfounded, the young man blinked in confusion. What the hell is going on? Without another word, the cow suddenly leapt up and moved closer to him, its eyes shining as if it had just discovered a mountain of gold. The young man's face turned pale as he yelled, Get away from me! I am not your mother, okay? What do you want from me? The cow snorted and spoke. Kid, your great destiny has arrived. Thinking it was just nonsense, the young man scoffed and turned away in frustration. Clenching his fists, he growled, Destiny! What destiny? This cow must have been lonely for too long and lost its damn mind. The old cow shook its head impatiently. Enough dilly-dallying. Come with me, now! Seeing that yelling wasn't working, the cow chomped down on the young man's robe and started dragging him along. Hey! Where are you taking me? The young man protested, struggling. The cow huffed in urgency. Hurry up, there's an immortal fairy bathing by the riverbank. Hearing the words, immortal fairy bathing, the young man's excitement skyrocketed. He nearly drooled as he gasped. A fairy? Bathing? Like the story of the Cowherd and the Weaver girl? Is this the script I've been given? The old cow grew irritated. Move it. If you're late, you'll miss your chance. Lying flat against the cow's back, the young man quickly instructed, Go easy on me. You're poking my kidneys. Soon, they arrived at a breathtakingly beautiful location. Gentle sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a warm glow over the scenery. The cow joyfully announced, This is the place. Before making a move, the cow signaled him to be cautious. Peering ahead, the young man spotted a fair-skinned beauty. His breath hitched. As expected of a heavenly fairy, what a flawless figure. He admired her from head to toe, awestruck. Those legs, that waist, and she's even washing an apple. The moment he saw the apple in her hands, he quickly turned to the cow with a scowl. You lying bastard! That's not a bathing fairy. She's just washing fruit. The old cow frowned, clearly displeased. What do you know? That apple she's washing isn't just any apple. With an air of wisdom, the cow explained. That fruit is called the drunken immortal apple. Eating it grants a person an additional 10,000 years of spiritual power. The mere thought of it made the young man's mind race. He grinned mischievously. So, we're here to steal the apple from her? The old cow smirked. Her cultivation level is at 4th grade golden core. After she eats the apple, she'll fall into a drunken state. That's when you tie her up. Hearing this, the young man could hardly contain his glee. To tie her up? The cow then revealed a glowing golden rope. This is the immortal binding rope. It can completely suppress the spiritual power of cultivators below the nascent soul stage. Holding the rope, the young man hesitated. Isn't this a bit too rough? I could probably win her over with my charm instead. The cow didn't hesitate to mock him. With your face? Keep dreaming. The young man turned to stone on the spot. The cow ruthlessly continued, and with your current financial situation, do you really think you can afford to play the long game? If you don't take advantage of this opportunity, you'll be stuck in poverty forever. The young man clenched his teeth. Stealing when the house is on fire, using underhanded tactics. Do I really have no choice? The cow eyed him suspiciously. I never expected to meet such a righteous and noble man in this world. Even I must rub my eyes in disbelief. But in the very next second, the young man was already twirling the golden rope in his hands, smirking wickedly. The sinister-looking man said, But I don't think this young lady seems like a good person. Let's just tie her up first and deal with it later. The old ox immediately retorted, You're the one who's no good. It looked ahead and suddenly shouted, Look, she ate the apple. Tuhuin's entire being was now overflowing with energy. She closed her eyes, sitting still in place as her body gradually healed. The wounds on her abdomen slowly disappeared. The old ox's expression turned serious, signaling, The time has come. She has eaten the drunken immortal apple. Follow me. At this moment, the young man became flustered, his hands and feet moving awkwardly. Sneaking around, he muttered, Is this really okay? Is she really asleep? Seeing his pathetic appearance, the old ox cast a disdainful glance at him. Humph. You really are all talk, no trace of manliness at all. Stepping closer to Tuhuin, the young man hesitated and asked, "What is this?" The ox explained, "It's a barrier she created." With ease, it gently lifted its hoof and shattered the barrier. "Is this all you've got to stop me?" The ox scoffed. Pointing at Tuhuin, it said, "Now it's your turn." Buckthun hesitated. "A mere mortal like me, tying up a golden core cultivator and a talking ox? Isn't this just asking for death?" Suddenly, the ox turned serious and spoke. "Buckthun, 16 years old, both parents deceased. For the past 8 years, you've survived by herding cattle and chopping firewood for the local landlord. If you want to escape this miserable life and become a ruler of your own domain, this is your chance to change your fate." It went on with a long speech, but the young man remained unmoved. "Cut the nonsense. Just tying up one girl can change my fate? More likely I'll die even faster." Just then, a mysterious card appeared above his head. The ox sighed. "Didn't expect you to have a decent character. At least you're not completely stupid." Buckthun was utterly confused. "What is this?" As he picked it up, a sense of unease rose within him. "A soul contract?" The old ox explained, "The term soul contract is just a superficial name. Its true name is the 100 Consort Register, an ancient artifact from the era of the primordial chaos gods. It was formed from the wastebone of the primordial chaos god himself. He created 10 divine weapons, and this register is one of them." Hearing this, Buckthun's eyes widened in disbelief. "The wastebone of a primordial god? You're kidding, right? So what? In the future, my waste will be some kind of divine artifact too?" The ox embedded the soul contract into Buckthun's body and confidently declared, "It may sound ridiculous, but when you use it, you'll understand its true power." It continued, "From now on, if anyone calls you husband, their name will be recorded in the 100 Consort Register, and a contract will be formed. Once the contract is completed, you will gain access to their spiritual roots and magical abilities." Buckthun was overjoyed, jumping up and grabbing the old ox excitedly. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" A devious smile appeared on his face. "Little lady, you are destined to be mine." Buckthun grabbed a rope and tied up the unconscious girl. "Milky Way Weaver, forgive me," he murmured as he bound her. But as his hands touched the rope, they suddenly stiffened. He felt nervous. Why was his heart racing? "Anxious," he asked softly. "Hey, are you okay?" Beside him, the ox spoke with absolute certainty. "Even a nascent soul cultivator who eats a drunken immortal apple will take at least 1 hour and 3 incense sticks time to regain consciousness. Don't bother checking." But as Buckthun gazed at Tu Huyen, he suddenly noticed something. Her abdomen still bore faint traces of injuries. So, she was healing herself here? Suddenly, he shouted, "Fairy sister, I just want a place in this world. Forgive my offense." With that, he gently tightened the rope around her ankles. Just then, Tu Huyen's eyes slowly fluttered open. Dazed, she blinked and asked, "What are you doing?" Both of them froze. Their expressions turned completely blank. Buckthun's mind went numb, and internally, he screamed, "Shit! Why did she wake up?" Cold sweat poured down his back. The young man panicked and stared at Tu Huyen in horror. Didn't that damn ox say she wouldn't regain consciousness for an hour? He turned his head. The old ox was nowhere to be seen. That damn cow disappeared? Buckthun clenched his fists in frustration. But at that moment, Tu Huyen tilted her head and gently asked, "Big brother, are you playing a game with me?" The young man, still trembling in fear, stammered, "Playing a game?" Oh, right. Tu Huyen naively asked, "So, do I need to lift my foot?" He nodded. That would make it a little easier. Tu Huyen's face lit up like a blooming flower. She smiled with excitement. All right. It's been so many years since I had someone to play with." While tying up her foot, he started questioning reality. Is she hallucinating? That's why they say a girl should never drink alone outside. Out of nowhere, a cow appeared beside them and mocked. "Kid, I can see right through you. You seem pretty skilled at tying people up." Furious, he snapped, "Damn it, where the hell were you hiding earlier?" Tu Huyen, completely absorbed in her emotions, laughed joyfully, her face full of expectation. "Big brother, do you want to play a game with Tu Huyen?" The cow clicked its tongue. "Looks like when she's drunk, her mind turns into that of a child." She raised her hands to her head as Buckthun patted her, coaxing her gently. "All right, let's play bandits, capturing a bride. Will you be my wife at the stronghold?" Hearing those words, her mind spun like a whirlwind. Be the bandit leader's wife? She gripped the rope tightly. Buckthun put on a rogue smirk. "This road is mine. This tree is mine. If you want to pass, you must pay a toll." This still not understanding the situation, she hesitated and timidly played along. But Tu Huyen has no money." Without hesitation, he picked her up and declared boldly, "In that case, I find you quite pleasing to the eye. From now on, you shall be my stronghold wife." Tu Huyen's face turned crimson. She screamed in panic. "Help! I'm still just a child." Her exaggerated reaction left Buckthun a bit bewildered. "She's crying already?" He softened his tone and coaxed, all right, don't cry. You've already been taken to my stronghold. Do you want me to untie you?" Tu Huyen nodded eagerly. Yes. Buckthun firmly stated, "From now on you are my stronghold wife. Call me husband and I'll untie you." But Tu Huyen pouted and refused. Mother said that's not allowed. Behind them, the cow's face twisted in distress. "This is bad. Hurry up or she'll recover soon." Cold sweat trickled down Buckthun's forehead. "Damn it. Didn't you say we still had 2 moments left?" The cow leaned in and explained, "I originally thought she was acting like this because she ate the drunken fairy apple, but now that she's sobering up, it means she's undergoing a breakthrough." It whispered urgently. "Right now, her mental state is as fragile as a child's. You must act quickly." Buckthun's eyes gleamed fiercely. "At this point, I have no choice." Raising his hand, he smacked Tu Huyen on the backside. Caught off guard, she let out a startled cry, both embarrassed and in pain. Buckthun threatened, "Are you going to call me or not?" Tu Huyen teared up, sobbing. "No, big brother, please, no." He spanked her again and warned, "If you don't call me, don't blame me for being merciless." Unable to bear it any longer, she finally caved in. "Fine, I'll say it." Shaking with fear, she murmured, "Big brother." But that wasn't the answer he wanted. His patience ran out. Fuming, he delivered another hard smack. "Say husband." Terrified and overwhelmed, she had no choice but to obey. "Husband." The moment she spoke, the 100 Wives register activated, engraving her name onto it. Buckthun's eyes widened in shock. It actually worked? The old cow panicked. "Run! She's about to break through." And just like that, the 2 of them fled, leaving Tu Huyen trembling alone. The old cow sprinted at full speed, escaping the danger zone. Buckthun, still on its back, asked breathlessly, "What about the immortal binding rope?" The old cow responded nonchalantly, "I can summon it back with my mind. Right now, staying alive is the priority." Golden sunlight bathed the forest as the exhausted pair slumped down to rest. Panting, the old cow muttered, "That was close. She's advanced to the crystal condensation realm. If we had stayed a moment longer, we'd be reincarnating right now." Buckthun sighed. "Next time, can we not do something this extreme again?" He clenched his fists, his gaze sharp as a sword, and said, "I've already made a pact with her. Doesn't that mean I can use her spiritual energy and spiritual root?" The young man exuded unparalleled confidence and questioned, "Do we really need to be so afraid? Can she even kill us?" The ox curled its lips and enlightened him. "First of all, this is only the initial stage of the pact. You can only use 3 parts of her spiritual energy. Secondly, since she has made a pact with you, she cannot directly kill you. But what if, in a fit of rage, she ends up killing me?" Buckthun burst into laughter, teasing the ox. "If you're dead, what else can be done? Of course, we'll make ox stew." At that moment, the young man returned to a serious state and probed, "By the way, why did you give me those divine artifacts like the 100 Wives Manual and the immortal binding rope?" The old ox looked into the distance with a contemplative expression and answered, "There's nothing I can't say. My physical body was destroyed, but by a stroke of fortune, I discovered that you meet the requirements for cultivating the 100 Wives Manual. That's why I gifted it to you." Unwilling to believe what it said, Buckthun asked again, "This thing has cultivation requirements?" "This thing has requirements? Don't tell me it's because I know how to woo women?" The old ox explained further, "Precisely because your 5-element spiritual roots are all null, yet your body is of extreme yang constitution. For ordinary cultivators, you are nothing but a cripple among cripples. Furthermore, your internal fire is too strong. You wouldn't have lived past the age of 18. But ironically, that makes you the perfect candidate for cultivating the 100 Wives Manual." Buckthun's eyes lit up with excitement. The great Tao is 50. Heaven bestows 49, leaving 1 to be hidden. Perhaps this is what they mean by heaven never seals all paths? Both of them laughed heartily. "Ha ha! Well said! It wasn't a waste searching for you for 500 years. You are indeed my heaven's chosen." Buckthun, however, replied solemnly, "I can't just accept something for nothing. Tell me, since you've given me the 100 Wives Manual, what do you want in return?" The old ox assumed a righteous stance. "The 100 Wives Manual has fate with you, and in turn, I also have fate with you. Consider it an act of goodwill. Why must there be repayment?" It gazed at him with trusting eyes. "I only hope that once you reach the nascent soul realm, you will help me reconstruct a body that suits my soul." Buckthun sighed as he walked. "This is such a cliché plot." "Fine, I agree. As long as I reach the so-called nascent soul realm you mentioned, I will definitely help you build a new body." The sun slowly set as Buckthun rode on the ox across the grasslands, still engrossed in their conversation. "When I find an empress, I'll have her call you husband. At that point, forget about the golden core realm. Even reaching the equivalent of the origin core realm would be as easy as flipping my hand." The ox grimaced. "If I were in my prime, I could lead you straight to an empress. But right now, I'm just a mere ox." It then added, "Since you've just stepped onto the path of cultivation, naturally, you must first join a sect. Otherwise, how will you ever get the chance to interact with the high and mighty Saintesses? How else will you use the 100 Wives Manual to enhance your cultivation?" Buckthun was resolute. Saintesses are fine, but forget about the saints' sons. The ox firmly agreed. Of course. After all, I have a steel waist, not a steel backside. At a grand and majestic sect, Fivun sect, a large number of disciples were entering, their hearts filled with excitement and anticipation. An elder spoke in a stern voice. The selection exam for Fivun sect has the following rules. He pointed to a massive stone tablet and declared, each of you will take turns attacking this tablet. As long as you can shake the spiritual energy barrier on its surface, you will be considered to have passed. As soon as he finished speaking, a towering young man stepped forward, raising his hand confidently. I'll go first. I can do it. With an air of determination, he strode forth, ready to prove himself. He channeled his spiritual energy and then used all his strength to strike the stone tablet. However, after a long moment, the stone tablet did not move in the slightest. The elder immediately declared his failure. The young man stood frozen in place, tears streaming down his face, unable to accept the result. Behind him, murmurs filled the crowd. A man in a brown robe questioned, "That's the eldest young master of the trio family?" He started training in martial arts at the age of 8 and reached the chi refining realm at 13. Even he failed? A young woman in a blue dress sighed in frustration. In the end, there is a difference between mortals and immortals. There are thousands upon thousands of cultivators in this world, but how many ever truly ascend? As a single step echoed forward, the crowd turned around, their attention instantly drawn toward the approaching figure. Teuthian strode forward arrogantly, her appearance stunningly beautiful. From head to toe, she exuded elegance, flashing a friendly smile. She spoke gently. Today is the selection for new disciples. My senior brothers have worked hard. You don't need to mind me, just continue the assessment. The elder turned to her and greeted her warmly. Senior sister Teuthian, you've come in person? She was the daughter of the sect master and a prodigy of Fivun sect. The selection of junior disciples was beneath her, something that could be left to the elders. The crowd erupted into murmurs. That's Nip Teuthian. She's incredibly beautiful. I never thought I'd get to see her in person today. Is she an immortal? She's so stunning that I can't take my eyes off her. The elder raised his hand, his voice stern. The selection continues. The next participant, step forward. If you lack the strength, don't bother coming up and wasting our time. A thick cloud of dust filled the air as an old ox stormed ahead with reckless speed, charging straight toward the stone tablet before skidding to a stop. Both the ox and its rider were left panting from exhaustion. The elder scolded, "Where did this coward come from? This is no place for a child like you. Get lost at once." Two gossiping spectators whispered, "Well, since he's in the sect's territory, they're showing mercy. Otherwise, he'd have been kicked out already." "That's true. If he had barged into my family's home, he'd have been beaten black and blue by now." Buckthun kicked the old ox, signaling it to wake up. "Hey, stop sleeping. We're here." Stretching and shaking off the fatigue, Buckthun looked around at the crowd. He waved cheerfully. Wow, so many people here to welcome me. But in return, he was met only with ridicule and laughter. Where did this country bumpkin come from? Is he looking to die? How dare he cause a commotion here? This is a place for immortals. Offending them means both he and his ox will die. Teuthian stepped forward, maintaining a calm demeanor. "Brother, could you please step aside? This is a place for immortals, not for you." The old ox sized her up, analyzing her carefully. Interesting girl. She's already reached the foundation establishment realm. Her spiritual root must be quite good. Buckthun's eyes lit up as he thought, "My Baktefo is starving." An elderly man in the crowd, unable to tolerate the scene any longer, shouted angrily, "Get out of here already! Stop wasting our time! My son is supposed to take the entrance test next." Buckthun scowled. What's all this noise about? Jumping off his ox, he bellowed, "Why is it okay for your son to take the test but not mine?" The old man pointed forward, his rage exploding. "Your son? Where is your son? I don't see him anywhere." Buckthun casually picked his ear, unfazed. "Just look in a mirror and you'll see him right away." The old man was dumbfounded, questioning his entire existence. "Mirror? What mirror?" A young woman in a blue dress burst into laughter. "That's the head of the Modung family, right?" The man in the brown robe beside her also laughed uncontrollably. "Yeah, usually he's so fierce. Turns out he's just a fool." Neep Teuthian inquired, "Do you also want to join our Fivun sect?" Baktun bowed slightly and replied, "In learning the Tao, there is always a proper order. In techniques, there are levels of mastery. Junior disciple Baktun greets senior sister." The elders present grew suspicious. Has any elder in the sect recently accepted a new disciple? "No, I haven't heard anything about it," one of them replied. Moreover, no new arrivals have been reported to the main sect. All elders have been present, and no one mentioned accepting a new disciple. Teuthian pressed her lips together, hesitating. He spoke of the order of the Tao. Could a mere coward utter such words? But no one like him exists in our sect. She stepped closer, scrutinizing him, and asked sternly, "Kid, are you showing confidence in yourself? Calling me senior sister. Do you even have the qualifications? Bakthan flashed a bright, carefree smile. Try me, and you'll know right away. Tiothian grinned, intrigued. All right, let's see if you can pass this test. The young man smirked. Everything has an order. Since I arrived last, he furrowed his brows and added, naturally, I should let these other guys try first. Tiothian scoffed mockingly. Afraid, are you? Yet Bakthan remained composed, wearing an arrogant expression. Not at all, I just don't want to shatter their confidence. Tiothian's eyes darkened. She gritted her teeth. You're saying everyone? Bakthan spread his hands. Of course, I'm not singling anyone out. I mean everyone here. Tio Kalap Me. The crowd was baffled, their minds spinning. What on earth is Tio Kalap Me? Could it be an ancient term or some profound phrase? Surely whatever he meant, it wasn't a compliment. Tiothian could no longer hold back. She placed her hands on her hips and snapped. Do you think the immortal sect is a joke? Fine. Today, you'll be the first to take the test. If you pass, then no one else needs to try. Everyone will be admitted. Someone from the crowd chuckled. She's being really generous. Bakthan laughed aloud. Senior sister, you sure make bold decisions. What's the test? An elder stepped forward and reminded, attack this stone tablet with your spiritual energy. If the shield on the tablet fluctuates, you pass. Bakthan grimaced. What kind of test is that? Attacking a rock? The rock won't even fight back. Tiothian clenched her fists. Then I'll test you myself. Bakthan's expression brightened, his lips curling into a grin. Oh, and how will you test me, senior sister? Eyes filled with determination, she declared. Because of what you just said, I've decided we'll exchange a single move. If you win, I'll admit that your words about the order of the Tao are true. I will address you as senior brother. Suddenly, Bakthan clasped his hands together and said with a smirk, Senior sister, if I win, you don't need to call me senior brother. He leaned in closer and whispered, just call me husband instead. Tiothian's face instantly flushed crimson. She stumbled over her words, flustered. What did you just say? Bakthan beamed. She gets embarrassed so easily. I can't help but tease her. A man in a brown robe pointed at Bakthan, laughing hysterically. Did you all hear that? That coward actually told Lady Neep to call him husband. The girl in the blue robe burst into laughter. Maybe he has peculiar tastes. Perhaps his dream is to die at the hands of a fairy. Wouldn't living be better than that? Tiothian's entire body radiated fury. Bakthan scratched his head, feigning innocence. Wow, she's really sensitive. Looks like senior sister has a short fuse. Grinding her teeth, she seethed. You brought this upon yourself. Meanwhile, on the peak of the Purple Cloud Mountain, a figure approached. Neep Sect Master. Tiothian turned. What brings you here? The Sect Master, Lamfang, bowed respectfully. Just now I sensed a sudden fluctuation in my daughter's aura. Her killing intent surged violently, as if she was about to strike someone. I investigated, but I didn't expect to disturb the Holy Maiden. Please forgive me. The Holy Maiden, Tu Huyen, glanced down at the scene below, smiling slightly. It's no trouble. I have no pressing matters today, so I don't mind watching for a bit. Below, the tension was so thick it was suffocating. Tiothian's fists clenched tightly, her knuckles turning white. She ground her teeth, rage building. You did this to yourself, she hissed. Two young men whispered among themselves. Senior sister's ultimate technique, Wind Slash, is already perfected. If it were me, I wouldn't even last one strike. Don't be shameless, the other retorted. Would senior sister even need to use such techniques to fight you? The brown-clad young man nodded. Indeed. If she's taking this seriously, then it must be senior brother Li Tu Lung, who has been in seclusion for many days. Standing before such a powerful, oppressive aura, Bakthan remained unfazed, his lips curling into a smile. No need for more words. Hurry up and attack, he said. She glanced at him and warned, Don't say I bullied you, kid. I'll let you strike first. The young man eagerly replied, Thank you, senior sister. Then I shall make the first move. Suddenly, Ko Bakthan turned around and fled, not forgetting to wave goodbye as he ran. Once a word is spoken, even 4 horses cannot chase it down. I'll be back after a short review, senior sister. Please wait for me. Watching this unexpected turn of events, the onlookers burst into laughter. The brown-clad young man teased, Is he trying to run away? The girl in blue smirked and said, I was still hoping he could defeat Miss Niep so that we could all join the sect together. Bakthan ran toward an old ox swaying as it grazed. He shouted, Brother Ox, you still haven't taught me how to use the power of Bakthe Fo in battle. Hurry up and teach me something. The ox merely stared at him in silence, making Bakthan even more anxious. He patted the ox urgently. Brother Ox, what are you doing? This is an important moment. The old ox let out a single sound and Bakthan's face turned pale. Now he finally started to feel fear. Furious, he yelled, Brother Ox, speak properly. What do you mean? The ox frowned and said, I'm telling you to recruit that girl. Why are you provoking her? Cold sweat dripped down Bakthan's forehead. The old ox continued, I'll just pretend to be an ordinary ox. When you die, I can at least light incense for you. Bakthan's face darkened. Panicking, he pleaded, Brother Ox, you're joking, right? I've already said those words. Now hurry up and think of a solution. He collapsed to the ground in distress, whining and begging. "Brother Ox, save me!" Up on the high mountain peak, Lumfang clenched his fists in frustration. "This is humiliating. Tian's temper is my fault for spoiling her." But at that moment, Tu Huin's mind was filled only with thoughts of Bukthun, that ridiculous coward. Why does he look exactly like the one in my visions? She reminisced about the time she was bound, remembering the stinging pain when she was spanked without mercy. Deep in thought, she murmured, "How could he appear in reality?" She recalled her master's words, "Some cultivators encounter the one destined to appear in their dreams." Tu Huin's eyes widened in confusion. If he really is just an ordinary young man, but he gets killed right in front of me, could that damage my Dao heart? She hesitated. Should I step in to stop this? After crying and whining to no avail, Bukthun sat up and placed his hand on the ox's head. "Brother Ox, stop messing around and just tell me how to use it in battle." Pointing at Tuthian, whose aura was surging with killing intent, he added, "If you don't, that girl over there is going to cut me to pieces with her sickle." At last, the ox lazily replied, "Awaken your spirit, activate your energy from Baktei Fo, visualize your attack in your mind, then strike." Still clueless, Bukthun asked in confusion, "Spirit, how do I awaken it, and where does my energy come from?" Before he could figure anything out, Teothian stepped forward. "This was supposed to be just a match," she said coldly, "but you've insulted me." Clenching the energy in her hand, she declared, "If I don't kill you today, where will Fivun Sek's reputation go?" The sharp axe in her grip radiated an overwhelming pressure. At that moment, Bukthun closed his eyes and focused on steadying his emotions. His bizarre behavior sparked a flurry of discussions. He's about to die. Look how calm he is. Getting killed by Senior Sister Fairy, is that really a bad way to go? Coward boy, even if you die, you'll live on in my memory. Oh, what a pitiful child. Just then, an explosive surge of energy burst from Bukthun's body. He opened his eyes wide and roared, "Dai de tui tu ha." A man stood frozen, his mouth agape. The elder stared intently at the boy, perplexed. What kind of spiritual technique is this? Even the old ox blended into the confusion. Why have I never heard of this before? The spiritual energy emanating from the boy took the form of a whale, exuding a domineering aura with eyes as sharp as swords. It opened its massive mouth, revealing terrifying fangs. Xiaothian instinctively took a step back, momentarily shaken. How is this possible? The crowd trembled in fear. Just who in the world is this person? To possess such an ability, could it be that he's just a well-dressed good-for-nothing? A man in a brown robe tried to comfort himself. Yes, that must be it. He's just putting on an act. After all, he's nothing but a mere cattle herder. The ox behind him, however, looked incredibly proud. Only a few days into his cultivation journey, and he has already reached this level just from my few words? Overflowing with joy, the old ox muttered to himself, "I, the great ox, have hope again. There is still hope." Above, Niplam Fong sighed in amazement. To be able to manipulate water-based spiritual energy in a place devoid of water. A wide grin spread across his face. No wonder he dared to challenge Xiaotian. This boy is no ordinary cultivator. Inside, Tu Huin's emotions churned in turmoil. The spiritual energy radiating from this cattle herder raised countless questions within her mind. This energy, it feels so familiar, almost identical to mine. This feeling is bizarre. She clenched her fists. Who exactly are you? Despite the overwhelming challenge, Teothian swiftly regained his composure. She swung her hand forward, launching an attack at the cattle herder. I didn't expect you to have some real skill. The two clashed fiercely, engaging in a battle so intense that the watching disciples were left in awe. Thunfeng Liam has reached mastery. Xiaothian, the daughter of the sect leader, certainly lived up to her reputation. The two forces collided head-on, and even their verbal sparring was fierce. Nip Teothian smirked. The more you resist, the more excited I become. I may not be Nin Tai Thun, but today, you won't escape. Bukthun raised his hand, unleashing his spiritual power. The whale-like energy manifestation grew larger and larger. He laughed arrogantly. So, Senior Sister, what do you think? Is my shark big enough? Xiaotian didn't bother answering. She lifted her axe and slashed it horizontally at the shark. A terrifying shockwave erupted as their powers collided. Bukthun shielded his eyes, overwhelmed by the sheer force. What kind of power is this? The elder watching from above murmured in astonishment. This boy, to be able to fight against Senior Sister to this extent. From the sky, Niplam Fong's voice rang out. No, something isn't right. His face twisted into a grimace. This boy, he's definitely not just an ordinary cattle herder. Meanwhile, Tu Huian silently prayed. Please, don't let anything happen to him. The shark clenched its jaws tightly around Xiaotian's axe. Bukthun grinned. Senior Sister, let's see who lasts longer. The sharp teeth of the spiritual shark pressed against the axe, causing Xiaotian's entire body to tremble. What is happening? Then, with a sickening snap, the axe blade shattered. A gasp of disbelief echoed through the battlefield. Impossible, Thunfeng Liam. has been broken. Seizing the opportunity, the spiritual shark spat out an explosive burst of energy, attacking directly. It coiled around Xiaotian's silhouette, trapping her within its swirling force. No matter how much she struggled, she couldn't break free. The shark swallowed her whole. The energy vortex spun violently, consuming everything. Gradually, her silhouette began to fade. Everyone stood dumbfounded, their mouths agape. She's being torn apart. The shark dominated the battlefield, standing tall. Xiaotian, still in shock, stared blankly. How? How is this possible? Her broken axe slipped from her grasp and disintegrated. A sense of utter defeat washed over her. She mumbled repeatedly. How can this be? The shark loomed behind her, its presence suffocating. Overcome with fear, Xiaotian clung to herself, screaming in panic. But, after a moment of silence, she hesitantly opened her eyes. Buckton stood before her, smiling brightly. Senior sister, are you all right? He extended a polite hand. Here, let me help you up. Stepping closer, he whispered with a playful smirk. By the way, you still owe me a thank you, senior sister. Just then, a powerful energy surged forth. Nip Lumfong descended, his foot striking the ground heavily. He roared in rage. You little brat! How dare you! The crowd was left in utter disbelief. The sect leader himself has arrived. Furious, Lumfong pointed at him and shouted, Brat, move aside! Do you really want this old man to strike you? Meanwhile, Baktun remained calm, gently asking, Senior sister, are you really scared of a mere shark? The young man quickly snapped his fingers, retracting the shark. Seeing Lumfong standing behind Tu Thien, he called out in frustration, Father! The two nosy individuals behind him continued gossiping. That coward brat! Damn it! Who is this genius? How could he defeat the daughter of the Five-On sect master? I think his name is something Daide? Tu Daide? Tu Ha? Other disciples continued speculating. The sect master and elders have arrived. That brat is doomed. Even the Saintess of the Supreme Sect is here. This time, our Five-On sect has lost all face. Lumfong clenched his jaw, his expression sour. Tu Thien was the most talented disciple of their sect, yet now she had been effortlessly defeated by some unknown brat. He shot a hostile glare at the boy. Behind them, Tu Huyen also frowned, trying to predict what would happen. Lumfong surely won't act rashly against a junior, but he might make a move to protect the sect's honor. He might even try to kill him. Her heart was in turmoil. Even though that young man was strong, he was no match for Lumfong. Anxiety filled her as she hesitated. If Lumfong was truly intent on killing him, should she step in to help? Regardless, Baktun calmly approached Tu Thien and helped her up. No need to be afraid, senior sister, he whispered warmly. His breath tickled her ear, sending a strange sensation through her. Her face turned red like a ripe tomato. Her ears burned. The feeling was too strange. Yet she still put on a strong front. You dare injure me? My father will kill you, she warned. He reached out to support her again, his hand resting firmly on her waist. Tu Thien's face grew even redder. Overwhelmed, she let out a small cry. You shameless, perverted bastard! Baktun only chuckled. Senior sister, you lost. So shouldn't you fulfill the bet? Tu Thien turned away, avoiding his gaze. What bet? I don't remember anything. Seeing her trying to dodge the topic, Baktun didn't hesitate to remind her. Senior sister, have you forgotten? You agreed that if you lost, you'd have to call me husband. Her face crumpled in despair. She was completely caught off guard. Shutting her eyes, she refused to say another word. But Baktun wasn't about to let her off so easily. What's this? You're pretending to sleep now? Senior sister, I know you're still awake, he yelled playfully. Her face was burning with embarrassment, but Baktun wasn't about to let up. If you keep pretending to faint, don't blame me for not holding back. With that, he lifted her chin and smirked. Senior sister, if you don't honor your bet, your Dao heart might be affected. Are you really willing to risk your cultivation over something so trivial? Meanwhile, the two gossipy disciples continued whispering. Look at that. What's going on between them? Why isn't Nip Tiotian resisting? Why does this suddenly feel so ambiguous? Wait, are they about to? Are they about to kiss and fall madly in love? Baktun took a deep breath, savoring the faint fragrance lingering on Tiotian. You're so talented, senior sister, he teased, his forehead touching her cheek. Would you really let yourself fall into chi deviation just because of a little bet? Would you really leave me all alone in this world? Finally, after his relentless teasing, she opened her eyes. But just as she did, Lumfong had reached his breaking point. You brat, he roared, veins bulging as he glared. You dare tease Tiotian? With that, he launched a furious attack. Take this. Lumfong's strike exploded like a raging inferno. Flames erupted, forcing everyone to scatter. Elders raised their arms to shield themselves from the smoke and heat. Standing amidst the dense smoke, Lumfong glared ahead. Opposite him, standing completely unharmed, was an old ox. Baktun grinned smugly. Nguka, you finally decided to step in. The old ox's eyes widened in shock. You brat, you already knew my true cultivation level? You forced me to act on purpose? Baktun chuckled. Actually, I had no idea. Then he recounted, last night you kept kicking in your sleep, so I tied you up with an immortal binding rope, but not long after you broke free. Confidence filled his expression as he concluded, that means your cultivation must be above the golden core realm. The old ox let out a deep sigh, staring at the young man and saying, so I ended up falling into your trap. Well, that's fine. At least it proves I wasn't mistaken about you. Kid, you're quite smart. Meanwhile, the disciples outside were in a panic, their limbs flailing in fear. This old ox, it actually managed to block an attack from Sectmaster Neep. How was that even possible? If it could do such a thing, then could it be that this old ox was actually a nascent soul realm expert? At this moment, Lumfang finally took the situation seriously. He spoke solemnly, I am the Sectmaster of Phi Vun Sect, Lumfang. He extended his hand, feigning a noble demeanor. May I ask which sect this esteemed expert hails from? Please reveal your name. However, behind his back, his concealed hand was drenched in blood, trembling with unease. This old ox was anything but simple. Just the recoil from its counterforce had nearly crippled his right hand. The atmosphere froze, becoming more awkward than ever as no one responded. Grinding his teeth in frustration, Lumfang's face darkened. Bah! The old ox suddenly let out a cry, playing its role to perfection. Then, as if innocent and oblivious, it lowered its head and resumed chewing grass. Lumfang hesitated. What was happening? Did it not understand human speech? Could it really just be an ordinary ox? Buckthun swiftly stepped forward, patting the old ox as if to defuse the situation. I've heard of people speaking to deaf cows before, but I never expected you to confide in one, Sectmaster. Then he suddenly leaped up, landing on the ox's back. His face displayed the most sincere expression possible. What? Are you envious of my mount? Unfortunately, it's a bull. If it were a cow, I wouldn't mind giving it to you. The man in the brown robe stood in a daze, his mouth agape. What? That ox is actually his mount? The young lady in the blue dress was equally puzzled. Just who is this young man? His mount can go head-to-head with Sectmaster Neep. The old ox snorted in disdain. Brat, your ability to put on a show in front of others is truly remarkable. Fine, I'll let you boast this time. Just then, a girl named Tuthian ran over, sobbing. Father, he bullied me. She clung to Lumfang, crying pitifully. He immediately embraced her, his voice full of concern. Tuthian, are you all right? Meanwhile, Buckthun shamelessly grinned and said, Senior sister, you still haven't fulfilled your promise to call me husband. Does Phi Vun Sect have no sense of honor? The surrounding disciples grew furious. He dares insult our senior sister? This is unacceptable. They ground their teeth in rage, their tempers flaring. Injuring our sectmaster is something we cannot tolerate. If we have to, we'll fight to the death with you today. The entire sect bristled with killing intent. Just as they were about to charge forward like heroes, a cold voice rang out. Enough! Tu Huiyan's sharp rebuke froze everyone in place. Her expression was as cold as ice. Are all of you planning to gang up on him? Haven't we embarrassed ourselves enough today? One of the disciples trembled in fear, his mind in turmoil. Shh, she's the Saintess. At that realization, they all immediately lowered their heads in deference. Even Lumfang hurriedly clasped his hands in respect. I greet the Saintess. May I ask what orders you have for us? Upon seeing her, Buckthun's expression changed drastically. It's her. What terrible luck. He turned to the ox with a grimace. Brother Ox, what do we do? Why is she here? Are we walking straight into a trap? The old ox shivered. I could barely handle Lumfang alone. Now with Tu Huiyan here too, we're done for. Tu Huiyan approached Buckthun, observing him with interest. Young hero, your cultivation doesn't seem weak at all. Both the young man and the ox stiffened, bracing themselves for the worst. But then her voice softened. May I ask which sect you belong to? Realizing that the so-called prison warden had forgotten about her prisoner, Buckthun immediately regained his composure. With a proud smile, he declared, How could I dare let the Saintess mock me? I am the 7th disciple of the esteemed Tengu honored elder, Ko Baksuin. The crowd erupted into murmurs. Tengu honored elder? Who is that? A disciple speculated, could it be some high-ranking demon beast expert? The girl in blue immediately refuted, a human following a demon beast master? Don't talk nonsense, or you might get yourself killed. Their eyes widened in panic. Even the elders looked utterly bewildered. Revered Tengu? I have never heard of such a name, he analyzed seriously. But to dare claim the title of Revered One, isn't that a rank only held by the supreme beings of the upper world? The young man beside him couldn't help but shudder in fear and blurted out in panic. If that's true, then I'm afraid Phi Vun Sect cannot afford to offend him. We must be careful. At this moment, Tu Huiyan finally spoke up. One cannot claim the title of Revered One unless they have at least reached the nascent soul realm. Her expression grew incredibly serious, and her sharp gaze locked onto the young man as she asked, Who exactly are you? Then she turned to look at the old ox. Lungmin pondered over the possibility of the nascent soul stage for Revered Tengu. But in the end, this was just an ordinary ox. wasn't it? Nip Lumfang's mind was in turmoil. His own mount, a mere beast of burden, actually had the cultivation of the nascent soul realm. He furrowed his brows, realizing that if that were true, then the actual strength of revered Thangu must be even more terrifying. Teothian was so shocked that her face turned pale, her thoughts becoming muddled. If they offended Thangu, would Five Unsect face calamity because of it? After a long silence, Lumfang stepped forward, breaking the heavy atmosphere with a bright smile. So, it's you, that brat Bukthun. Back then, when I and your master Thangu arranged this engagement, you were just a child. In the blink of an eye, you've grown this much. A fiancé dropping from the sky left the young man utterly bewildered. He darted his eyes around in confusion. What? An engagement? What nonsense is this? Lumfang merely laughed heartily. You little rascal, you're just like your master. No appreciation for beauty whatsoever. Without warning, he grabbed Bukthun's hand tightly, his face filled with the joy of reunion. With your master backing you up, you're not afraid that your future father-in-law will deal with you, are you? Bukthun's mind spun as if caught in a whirlwind. He wanted to question him properly. Senior, what is this about? But before he could, the man had already pulled him close and whispered in his ear, Listen to me, brat, and play along. If Teothian takes this to heart. Lumfang's gaze sharpened as he issued a veiled threat. If that happens, then even if I have to face off against your mysterious master, today I will make sure you die by my hands. Faced with this chilling warning, the young man could only glance around in desperation, seeking help. The situation was getting more complicated. Seeing Bukthun's pleading look, the old ox merely sweated nervously and looked away. Why are you looking at me? The old beast continued chewing grass as if nothing was happening. Handle it yourself. Dragged away in despair, Bukthun cast one last resentful glance at the ox. Damn you, old new. But fine. He just needed to hear one word. Husband. Taking a deep breath, Bukthun regained his composure. In an instant, he slipped into character, bowing respectfully. The seventh disciple of revered Thangu, Ko Bukthun, pays his respects to Uncle. The young man in the brown robe nearly had his soul leave his body. Uncle? So he really is Niptuthin's fiancé? The girl in green voiced her doubts. But they were just fighting earlier. Today's events were simply too much to take in. Bukthun, without missing a beat, spun an excuse so seamless it was almost believable. My master ordered me to descend the mountain and come to Fiv Unsect. He told me that if I met Teothian, I should not acknowledge her right away, but must battle her first. He then knelt on the ground with a solemn expression. His mind worked fast. If I cannot defeat Teothian, then I have no qualifications to be her husband. Putting on a remorseful and guilty face, he took full responsibility. I was careless and accidentally injured Teothian. Uncle, if you wish to punish me, I will accept it without complaint. The old ox, hearing this, was so shocked that even its inner thoughts were in turmoil. This kid, he can spin lies so well, and they actually sound reasonable. The shocking revelation stirred the crowd. Wait, am I a groom-to-be now? I just came to participate in a trial, and suddenly I'm caught in this mess. A dissatisfied young man muttered, Did anyone ever hear that senior sister had a fiancé? He smiled slyly, deep in thought. Li Tu Lung, a senior brother currently in seclusion, had always been paying attention to senior sister. Before he could finish speaking, another young man beside him hurriedly pressed a finger to his lips. Shh, do you have a death wish? Tu Huyen stepped forward, her expression deep in thought. So, even Sect Master Niep is acquainted with this revered Thangu? Lumfang clasped his hands together and spun another believable excuse. Holy Maiden, please forgive me. Back then, when we arranged this engagement with revered Thangu, we thought it was just a joke. Who would have guessed that he actually took it seriously? With both hands clenched tightly, Tu Huyen tried to stabilize her emotions. Why did she have this strange feeling inside? Why was there a sense of disappointment? She pointed towards Bukthun Lumfang, who was beaming like a flower, and signaled, Teothian, aren't you going to come over and greet your Bukthun Kaka? Teothian shyly stepped forward, still struggling to accept the reality that he was her fiancé. Her heart began to flutter as she looked at Bukthun with a different gaze, now filled with admiration. Though his clothes were ragged, upon closer inspection, his features were rather refined. Now, as she gazed at him with a warm smile, she found his appearance increasingly pleasing. They were about the same age, yet his cultivation level was far beyond hers. Seeing her hesitation, Lumfang firmly grasped her hand and boldly declared, without a hint of embarrassment, Today marks the Fivan sect's disciple recruitment, and also the day our sect welcomes a virtuous son-in-law. Truly a double blessing. Bukthun inquired, Uncle, does the bet between Teothian and me still stand? The man responded straightforwardly, Of course, a promise made by my daughter is a promise made by me. The young disciples clapped enthusiastically, marveling, Uncle is truly a man of his word. It seems my master was right about him. Lumfang raised his hand high and solemnly announced, Based on Teothian's bet, I declare that all disciples participating in the entrance examination, whether they pass or fail, will be accepted into the sect. The crowd erupted in excitement. What? Did I hear that correctly? Everyone is being admitted into Fivun's sect? That means we've become cultivators. Buktun turned to remind Teothian. Earlier, you said that if you lost, you would have to call me husband. She bit her lip in silence, lost in thought. At this moment, Lumfang cheerfully called out, New disciples, why are you standing there? Hurry and thank Buktun Suhuin. Immediately, the crowd swarmed around him joyfully. Suhuin Buktun, you are truly our savior. Calling you our adoptive father wouldn't even be an exaggeration. Suhuin, thank you. They grabbed his shoulders, clung to his legs, and even lifted him up in the air, overflowing with happiness. Suhuin Buktun, long live. Fivun sect, long live. But Buktun, still having unfinished business, frowned in displeasure. That sly fox Lumfang, he just glossed over the matter of calling me husband so easily. Standing quietly in a corner, Tu Huin observed the scene with countless questions in her mind. Is he really Nip Teothian's fiancé? Her heart wavered. This is my first time meeting him, so why do I feel jealous? At that moment, Lumfang approached, breaking her train of thought. Saintess, he raised an eyebrow. This is not the place to talk. Please let's continue inside. And so, they entered a more private space. Lumfang finally spoke with sincerity. Saintess, please do not take offense to what happened at the sect's entrance. I only took such measures for the greater good. Tu Huin silently listened before suddenly bursting out. So, the engagement between Buktun and Nip Teothian was a complete fabrication. Lumfang earnestly explained. What I said earlier was to prevent Teothian from developing inner demons that could hinder her cultivation. He laid out his reasoning, adding, it was also to protect the reputation of our Fivun sect. Letting out a relieved sigh, Tu Huin clicked her tongue. I had already suspected it, but to think it was true. If there's no engagement, then that's good. Regaining her composure, she turned serious. Now, let's talk about the real issue. Who exactly is this so-called Tengu Tonja? Lumfang shook his head. I have never heard of Tengu Tonja before. However, Buktun, despite his young age, possesses such a high cultivation level. Moreover, he even has a nascent soul-level spirit beast as his mount. He is clearly no ordinary person. She continued questioning. Then what should we do now? Announcing an annulment would tarnish Fivun sect's reputation, wouldn't it? With a meaningful smile, Lumfang reassured her, Saintess, rest assured, I already have a plan. The sect's reputation will remain intact. Meanwhile, Teothian stood alone amidst countless blooming flowers, pacing back and forth with a heavy sigh, looking as if she had aged beyond her years. Her gaze drifted into the distance. If Suhuin Li Tulung finds out about this engagement, what will he think? Lost in thought, she continued walking forward, absent-mindedly reaching out to touch a branch. She spoke up. The green plums on the tree are all ripe now. Xiaotian speculated. He's probably about to break through to the crystal formation realm soon. A hand reached out toward the blooming flowers, then gently plucked a branch. Xiaotian's eyes widened in surprise as she saw the branch being offered to her. Buktun sighed. Senior sister, you truly have an elegant taste appreciating flowers and admiring the plums here? She grabbed the branch and shouted, What does it have to do with you? Feeling embarrassed all of a sudden, Xiaotian turned away, grumbling, It has nothing to do with you. Unexpectedly, the young man recited poetry, testing his skill. His slender hands displayed dexterity, revealing the flowers and exuding the faint fragrance of plum blossoms. Sweat glistened on her thin robes. When her husband arrived, her hairpin slipped and her shoe tilted as she turned around to see him. He chuckled while humming poetic verses, then ran to the door, glancing back. Inside, she subconsciously blurted out the next line of the couplet, but was suddenly struck by the scent of green plums. Her heart wavered, realizing something was amiss. Why am I noticing the scent of green plums? Xiaotian's mind was in turmoil, trapped in confusion. Annoying! All he knows is how to mock me, but somehow this name doesn't seem as hateful anymore. Despite her chaotic emotions, she remained cold and said, This garden is private property. Young master, please leave. From a distance, Nip Lumfang approached with a bright smile. Why do you still address him as young master? Upon seeing them standing together, Tu Huin's blind jealousy flared up again. She frowned, irritated. His talents far surpassed those so-called refined scholars of Vantian Palace. The more she looked at them, the angrier she became. But it's because of another woman? Nip Lumfang's carefree laughter only deepened Buktun's dislike. Here comes trouble again. Suppressing his frustration, he reminded himself to continue acting. As long as they remain wary of me, there's still a chance to turn things around. With that thought, the young man bowed deeply. Buktun greets Sectmaster Nip and the Holy Maiden. Nip Lumfang turned to his daughter and signaled, Xiaotian, go back and find Senior Sister Thung. I have matters to discuss with Buktun. All eyes followed Xiaotian as she walked away, her figure gradually fading from sight. Bukthun felt increasingly suffocated. The atmosphere was so perfect just now, but Nip Lumfong had to ruin it. Nip Lumfong suddenly grabbed his hand and coldly declared, "Bukthun, I don't care who you really are, even if you're truly the disciple of Sage Tengu." His voice thundered with fury. "My daughter is not someone to be bullied by others." Shocked by his sudden change in attitude, the young man's mouth fell open. Not acting anymore? His mind spiraled into panic. Wait, this guy's turning on me? Wouldn't that put me in danger? Suppressing his chaotic emotions, he forced a serious expression and spoke. "Sectmaster Nip, what exactly do you want?" Nip Lumfong stated firmly, "I've decided. From today onwards, I, Nip Lumfong, will invite you to join 5 Unsect as an esteemed guest." Elder Khan was utterly stunned by these words coming from Nip Lumfong's stern face. Shocked, he blurted out, How could you say something so forceful?" Cold sweat dripped down Bukthun's back. "Looks like I really have to act my way into their hearts. He treats me like a future son-in-law, yet he acts as if he's my father for real?" The young man pulled his hand back and arrogantly replied, "Thank you, Sectmaster Nip, for your generosity." But he smirked. "Elder sounds too old-fashioned. How about calling me Guest Khan instead?" Nip Lumfong clapped his hands. "Servants, bring the attire." 2 young women dressed in ceremonial robes stepped forward. One of them smiled and said, "Elder, please change into these." Bukthun swiftly changed into the new robes. A sword was strapped to his back, and his aura radiated an imposing, untamed energy. Seeing his transformed appearance, Tu-Huyen was momentarily dazed. So Bukthun can actually look this handsome and dignified? Her eyes widened in excitement. He can switch between the mundane and immortal Wordle worlds so effortlessly. Nip Lumfong nodded in satisfaction. "My son-in-law is truly a remarkable talent." Those words hit Bukthun like a hammer. "Son-in-law? Damn it, this old man is taking the act too far." And then, with joy, Nip Lumfong announced, "I hereby declare that Bukthun and Xiaotian shall be betrothed and choose a date for their Taoist wedding." The declaration was so unexpected that the young man froze in place. "Old man, we were just acting and you went and made it real?" Tu-Huyen immediately jumped up in protest. "Sectmaster Nip, what do you mean by this? Didn't you say there was no engagement before? Are you making things up on the spot?" Nip Lumfong pondered for a moment and then replied, "Indeed, Xiaotian has feelings for Bukthun. This marriage will bring a great talent into our sect while preserving our reputation." He explained, and he could even help Teothian stabilize her mental state, preventing inner demons from forming while being caught in a difficult situation. Bukthun stood frozen as if struck by lightning. Damn it, this time he had truly backed himself into a corner. If he really had to marry Nip Teothian, she was sobbing uncontrollably. In his heart, the young man questioned himself. How could he still flirt with other women in the future? How could he wholeheartedly pursue the Tao? How could he add another name to the Bokfo wife registry? Thus, he refused the invitation to be a guest. Elder Khan nodded but insisted, "A marriage cannot be taken lightly." Bukthun, however, firmly declared, "I am a man of responsibility. This matter must be resolved immediately." A sword infused with spiritual energy advanced. Too shocked, the young man widened his eyes to their limits, his legs trembling as if he was about to soil his pants. Tu-Huyen raised her hand high and resolutely declared, "This marriage, I do not agree to it." Bukthun's face turned pale with horror. "Damn it! She must have recognized me." The young man's mouth gaped open, a cold chill running down his spine. That day, he had been bound tightly, and now, was she planning to give him a heavy, piercing experience? Lumfong spoke up indignantly, "Saintess, what do you mean by this?" Unable to bear the humiliation, he questioned her. "Although you are the Saintess of the upper sect, this is still my lower sect." His face twisted with anger. "Your words seem inappropriate." Suddenly, Tu-Huyen raised a decree token, silencing him instantly. Lumfong frowned in deep thought. That token, brimming with confidence, she shouted, "By the order of the heavens." Tu-Huyen's voice carried arrogance. "Seeing this decree is akin to seeing the sect master. This marriage is cancelled." Forced into a corner, Lumfong looked dissatisfied. "Saintess, how could you use authority to force others?" He remained stubborn and unyielding. "Even if you are from the upper sect, you have no right to interfere in the affairs of the Nip family." Then, Tu-Huyen announced, "From today onward, I shall accept Nip Teothian into Vuntut Fo. She will now bear the name Nip Vunthian and be a disciple of the upper sect." Her gaze swept over the crowd. "This marriage is now under the jurisdiction of the upper sect. Sectmaster Nip, do you have any objections?" Overwhelmed with emotions, Lumfong trembled and was momentarily speechless. Nip Lumfong lowered his head and replied, "I obey the sectmaster's decree." A joyful smile spread across his face. "Thank you, sectmaster, for your grace." Inside, tears streamed down his heart. He was too emotional to control himself. Teothian has now entered the Vuntut Fo Heavenly Palace. Her future achievements will be limitless. Meanwhile, a certain young man, overhearing these words, was relieved. He had been worrying about how to reject this marriage tactfully, but now he didn't have to anymore. Bukthun held his stomach, suppressing his laughter. Indeed, taking a concubine must first receive the first wife's approval. Suddenly, Tu-Hyun approached him in a mysterious manner. She stared at him and said, "This time, in accepting Nip Tu-Hyun, there is still one matter in which I need Sectmaster Nip's assistance." The young man scratched his head in confusion. If she needs the Sectmaster's help, why is she looking at me? I'm not the Sectmaster of Fivun Sect. Lumfang spoke firmly. "Saintess, please give your command." He vowed resolutely. "If this is within Fivun Sect's power, we will do our utmost." Turning toward him, Tu-Hyun stated, "I have come to Fivun Sect to explore a secret realm. I request Sectmaster Nip to assign 3 people to accompany me." Lumfang immediately responded, "I will assign the Grand Elder and 2 other elders to accompany you with full support." She waved her hand in refusal. "Their cultivation levels are too high." She glanced at Buktun and Tu-Hyun. "I find these 2 very compatible with the mission. The Sectmaster only needs to arrange 1 more person." At that moment, Buktun finally realized what was happening. His mouth dropped open in shock. "I was wondering why she kept staring at me, so she wants to drag me into this as a foot soldier?" His expression darkened and his brows furrowed deeply. "After what you just did, if I go with you, who knows how you'll toy with me?" He remained composed and corrected her. "Saintess, there must be a misunderstanding. I am not a disciple of Fivun Sect." He let out a loud laugh. "Moreover, my cultivation is weak. Please forgive me. I am truly powerless to assist. If there's nothing else, I shall take my leave." Seeing the young man about to escape, Lumfang pointed at him and declared, "Buktun, you defeated Tu-Hyun, which means you are already a part of Fivun Sect." His fist clenched tightly. "Furthermore, I have just granted you the status of a guest elder of the sect. How dare you defy the Saintess?" Buktun smirked arrogantly. "That title is too big for me. I only agreed to be a guest elder, Elder Khan. As for the affairs of your sect..." His eyes turned sharp. "What does that have to do with me?" Tu-Hyun suddenly stepped closer. She spoke softly. "As the Holy Maiden, of course, I won't make things difficult for you, young master." She held the sword in her hand and leaned in even closer. "No need to act, Lord Cowherd." Buktun clenched his teeth in fear. Realizing the situation, he immediately changed his attitude. "Whatever the Holy Maiden says," he sighed dramatically. "I've always been someone who helps others. After all, helping people is my joy. When I see an old lady crossing the street, I instinctively lend a hand." He suddenly bowed with conviction. "If the Holy Maiden requires my assistance, this young master will never refuse." Tu-Hyun sheathed her sword and smiled brightly. "Then I shall thank young master in advance for his kind support." Still in shock, Buktun stammered, So what should I do?" At the small courtyard behind the mountain, Buktun scratched his head, muttering, "Damn it, Tu-Hyun. Holy Maiden. Huh? Weren't you calling me husband just a moment ago?" He raised his hand as if imagining a dreamlike future. "Just wait till I take a few more little wives." The Great 100 Wives Manual, Mastering Alchemy, Moving Mountains. "Once I perfect these techniques, I'll return and make you pay 100-fold for today." As he was lost in thought, a voice called out from the distance, "Senior brother." 2 talkative disciples approached, beaming. "Congratulations on being promoted to guest elder. Thanks to you, we were able to enter Fivun Sect." Looking at their gifts, Buktun clicked his tongue. "You 2, huh? You sure get information fast." One of them, a young man, grinned. "We specially brought some nourishing items for Elder." Buktun chuckled. "You even know about these, huh?" Then his eyes narrowed. "By the way, what's the background of Vuntian Palace?" The young woman eagerly explained. Vuntian Palace is one of the 4 great sects of the Wuji Empire, located at its very center. It holds dominion over 5 powerful regions with countless inner disciples. Its legacy spans thousands of years, and its strength is unfathomable. Hearing this, Buktun smirked. To others, it might be a sacred land of cultivation, but to him, it was nothing more than a factory for producing brides for the 100 Wives Manual. Seizing the opportunity to brag, he waved dismissively. "I thought it was some grand sect, but it turns out it's just a so-called sacred land in a tiny corner of the Wuji Empire." The 2 disciples exchanged stunned glances. The Wuji Empire? A tiny corner? Their eyes sparkled with admiration. Elder truly has an extraordinary vision. Neither Vuntian Palace nor even the entire Wuji Empire could compare to such grand insight. Just then, the old cow's voice broke the lively atmosphere. Buktun stretched lazily. "All right, I'm feeling a bit tired. You guys can leave now." Before leaving, the 2 disciples promised, "On the 1st and 15th of every month, we will certainly bring lavish offerings to Elder." Once they left, the old cow stepped forward, happily munching on the gifts. "Not bad," the cow praised between bites. "You talked your way into becoming a guest elder, and now you're getting all these great gifts. Next time, tell them to bring even more." Buktun shot up, roaring, "You old bastard, I almost died because of you. I only agreed to enter the sect, but you tricked me into marrying the sect leader's daughter." He clenched his fists in frustration. "And now my golden core wife is stuck here too. If I weren't such a good actor, you'd be grilled into steak by now." The old cow chewed lazily and chuckled. But you, kid, you sure know how to talk big. Calling the Wuji Empire just a small piece of land, that's some serious nonsense. Buckthun grinned brightly. Nonsense? What nonsense? The cow suddenly kicked him, sending him stumbling. Get lost. Buckthun clutched his back. Ow, 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 what the hell, old cow? No martial virtue at all. Sneak attacking your own teammate? The cow's expression turned serious. Enough joking around. Let's get back to business. Tomorrow's mission to explore the secret realm is a valuable training opportunity. Your current strength is enough for you to go alone. I'll stay behind in the sect and wait for your return. Buckthun blinked in surprise. You're not coming? A rare trace of concern flickered in his eyes. Old cow, don't you care about me anymore? With the current strength, only being able to use 3 parts of Antuhuin's spiritual power is completely insufficient to deal with the experts outside. The ox explained that it was because she had no affection for him. As long as the feelings between the two of them increased, he would be able to utilize more of her cultivation. Not feeling the least bit embarrassed, the young man was immensely proud, so his first wife already had feelings for him. As expected, his charm was extraordinary. He furrowed his brows, looking down at his own body. He could truly feel that the true energy in his body was becoming more abundant. The ox broke out in a cold sweat. Chidung, unable to cultivate, was an extremely rare case in 1,000 years. He hesitated, pondering. Could this boy truly be from the ancient clan? At the sect's grand plaza, the elders of Phi Vun sect, Buckthun, and Tu Huyen wore solemn expressions. Tu Lung stood beside Tio Thien, clearly enraged. Tu Huyen spoke up. Since everyone has arrived, let us begin. She declared firmly, Sectmaster Nip, please give the order. Lumfeng sternly announced, by decree, guest Deacon Kangko and Buckthun will collaborate with the Holy Maiden of Thungtong Vun Thien Kung to carry out the mission assigned by Thungtong. His expression was grave. Disciples of Phi Vun sect, Li Tu Lung and Nip Tio Thien, shall obey the Holy Maiden's command and embark on this journey together. There must be no mistakes. Li Tu Lung and Tio Thien respectfully bowed. We obey, Sectmaster. Li Tu Lung looked at her, his heart brimming with joy, and spoke, Tio Thien, this time, after my closed-door training, my cultivation has improved significantly. I will surely protect you well. Upon witnessing this ambiguous scene, Tu Huyen quickly realized Li Tu Lung obviously had feelings for Nip Tio Thien. She scoffed in displeasure and stepped forward, declaring, Li Tu Lung, if you perform well in this mission, I promise you. She paused, then solemnly stated, this holy maiden will grant you the qualification to cultivate in Thung Tong. Li Tu Lung was overjoyed, his entire being ignited with excitement. Many thanks for the Holy Maiden's grace. This disciple will not hesitate to face any danger. A sinister smile appeared on his lips, his determination flaring. As long as this mission succeeded, he would have the opportunity to enter Thungtong alongside his junior sister Tio Thien. By then, how could he possibly fail to win her heart? His eyes gleamed with anticipation. If he joined Thungtong, getting the sect master to annul her engagement wouldn't be difficult at all. Buckthun, watching closely, contemplated the situation. His first wife had just provided them with a reason to head to Thungtong. But what about him? How could he also go along? Smiling slightly, the young man mused, perhaps I should request to go as well. Thinking was doing. He strode toward Tu Huyen and spoke with a smirk. Holy Maiden, yesterday this young master promised to assist you, but I never said it would be free. She turned to him and asked, what conditions do you have? Just speak. Buckthun replied arrogantly, thinking it over, I actually lack nothing. He then added in a mysterious tone, then I only ask for one thing from you. Li Tu Lung immediately crossed his arms and sneered, lack nothing? Who do you think you are? He continued mocking, you are speaking to the Holy Maiden of Vun Thien sect, one of the 4 great sects of the Vokuk Empire. What she can bestow upon you might not even exist in a minor sect like Phi Vun sect. Buckthun retorted confidently, so Phi Vun sect is really that poor? His words left Li Tu Lung speechless with fury. Tu Huyen intervened, cutting him off. Let's put that aside. What is it that you want from me? The young man flicked his fan smugly. I'll think of it and let you know later. But rest assured, I won't make things difficult for the Holy Maiden. Tu Huyen nodded in agreement. Very well. This Holy Maiden will comply with your request. With the discussion settled, Tu Huyen raised her hand and unleashed her spiritual power. A floating ship appeared in the sky. She gestured, urging everyone, board the ship. As they ascended into the clouds, the group gazed at the breathtaking scenery around them. Buckthun remarked, this is the stratosphere already. If my spiritual energy hadn't strengthened, I'd probably be frozen to death by now. Tio Thien widened her eyes in awe, exclaiming, the speed is incredible. We've already traveled hundreds of miles in an instant. Between the clouds, the ship surged forward with tremendous force. A sudden jolt made the vessel sway violently, causing Tio Thien to lose her balance. Buckthun quickly reached out and grabbed her hand, exclaiming urgently, be careful. Bukthun successfully executed a flawless hero-saving beauty scene. Teotian, blushing, hesitantly spoke. Bukthun, kaka, you hurt me. Supporting her, Bukthun gently reminded, be careful. If you fall from the flying ship, even with spiritual energy protection, you'll be seriously injured. The young man stared at her and pondered. It must be that Niplumfong is afraid of offending a noble young master from a mysterious power like me, so he sacrificed his precious daughter to please me. He sighed tiredly. I only want to take her Fong spirit route, that's all. Wanting to end things quickly, Bukthun let go of her and said, Nip Teothian, in truth, I don't have much of a connection with your Fivun sect. Looking at her seriously, he continued, as long as you fulfill your promise and call me husband just once, I won't harm your Dao heart. Tears rolled down Teothian's cheeks as she sorrowfully murmured, you're not my future husband? Bottled up grievances surged as she blamed herself. I understand now. Young Master Ko doesn't like Teothian. Teothian has been disrespectful to you. She lowered her head and continued, when I return to Fivun sect, I will ask my father to annul the engagement. Faced with this awkward situation, the young man hesitated. Did Niplumfong not tell her that the so-called engagement never existed in the first place? Seeing her fragile state, he deduced, I see. Niplumfong must have feared that revealing the truth would hurt her Dao heart, so he chose to remain silent about it. He then gently reassured her. I was too harsh. I thought you were forced to obey Sectmaster Nip's orders to please me. That's why I said those things. Placing his hand firmly on her shoulder, he declared, in truth, I don't dislike you at all. Teothian leaned into his embrace, pouring out her heart. Bukthun ka, in reality, when I was with you today, that was my true self. What you saw yesterday was just me fulfilling my role as the Sectmaster's daughter, maintaining appearances in front of my fellow disciples. From behind, Tu Lung clenched his teeth in fury. His patience snapped as he roared, You bastard! What are you doing? Let go of Teothian right now. Furious, he swung his hand, unleashing a scorching flame palm attack. How dare you defile Teothian? Teothian's eyes widened in vigilance. Bukthun kaka, be careful. She quickly activated her spiritual energy, suppressing his power. Standing firm, she shielded Bukthun. Li Tulung was stunned, his eyes wide with disbelief. Teothian, what did you just do? Ignoring him completely, she turned to Bukthun with concern. Bukthun kaka, are you all right? The young man smiled faintly. I'm fine. Thank you, Teothian, for stepping in. Li Tulung's expression twisted, as if he had stepped on filth. His face burned with rage. Teothian, why are you protecting Ko Bukthun? He's just a spoiled young master relying on his elders. Teothian proudly reached out towards Bukthun. Senior brother Li, don't be rude. Bukthun Kaka is an esteemed guest of Elder Ken of our Fivun sect. Blushing, she added softly, and he is also my future Dao partner. Li Tulung's heart shattered. His face darkened with a chilling coldness. Teothian, what are you saying? She warned him one last time. Since senior brother Li has just exited seclusion and is unaware of the situation, I won't hold your offense against Bukthun Kaka against you. Furious, he justified himself. Teothian, I just don't want you to be deceived by this playboy. I don't want you to betray your conscience and get close to this womanizer. Her face turned ice cold as she retorted, My affairs are none of your concern, senior brother Li. Also, the way you call me Teothian, that overly familiar tone, please refrain from using it in the future. Like the other senior brothers, you may address me as junior sister Teothian instead. She casually linked arms with Bukthun, radiating affection. I don't want Bukthun Kaka to misunderstand. Then, with a playful tone, she added, Senior brother, I thank you in advance. Seeing them so happy together, Li Tulung stood frozen in place, completely petrified. Tears flowed down his face like a river. He glared at them, grinding his teeth in frustration. No. I can't accept this cruel reality. What Thengu honored sage? What engagement? It's all baseless nonsense. Desperately searching for a way to justify his loss, he finally convinced himself, it must be. The sect master and Teothian must have been bewitched by some demonic charm. With that, he unleashed a surge of spiritual energy, eyes blazing with fury. His gaze was so intense, it seemed as if he could shoot laser beams that would burn the entire world to ashes. Today, I, Li Tulung, will act on behalf of the heavens and rid the world of you, wretched traitor. Teothian pulled Bukthun back, warning, Li Tulung, what are you trying to do? She clenched her fists so tightly that she could crush stone and shouted, This is an airship. Do you want to get us all killed? Ko Bukthun stared at the spiritual energy ahead, hesitating. This guy, he actually has a fully mastered crystal formation cultivation? I gritted my teeth in worry. Right now, I'm no match for him. Does this mean I have to let Teothian call me husband? Fearful, I heard the beauty beside me urging, Bukthun Kaka, what should we do now? So naturally, I did what any brave man would. I bluffed loudly. Teothian, don't worry, I'll handle everything. And my way of handling things? running as fast as possible to warn another beauty. Saintess! This is bad! I yelled. Someone set fire to your airship. But who would have thought? Tu Huyen merely closed her eyes, indifferent. Your personal matters? Handle them yourselves. Just don't bother me. Bukthun widened his eyes as if a sudden realization struck him. No wonder she let Li Tu-Lung come along and even promised to bring him to Thenvun Palace. My mind clicked. So the main wife gets jealous too, huh? Li Tu-Lung swung his hand fiercely, summoning a roaring tiger, its ferocious aura shaking the heavens. Wretched demon, Ko Bukthun, prepare to die. The tiger's sharp eyes gleamed with a hunger to devour everything in its path. Bukthun froze in panic. Damn it, it's too late to summon my shark now. The tiger lunged, but moments later its power faded. Instead of a fearsome beast, it opened its mouth wide in shock. The once mighty roar now sounded like Hello Kitty. Its shrill cry was no more than the buzz of a mosquito. Ko Bukthun stood there, dumbfounded, questioning reality. What's going on? Why did this tiger suddenly turn into a sickly kitten? At that moment, Tu Huyen hurried over. Bukthun kaka, she exclaimed in concern, checking his body. Are you all right? Li Tu-Lung, meanwhile, stared at his empty hands in disbelief. His pain doubled. My spiritual energy. His face turned deathly pale, unable to comprehend why he had suddenly become so weak. Tu Huyen coldly explained, We've entered the sky above the secret realm. In this place, everyone's cultivation is suppressed. Looking at the feeble tiger, Bukthun finally understood. So that's how it is. Guess the main wife didn't actually leave me to die. Only now did I dare to puff out my chest and kick hard. Get lost, old man! Li Tu-Lung seethed with frustration. You got lucky this time, he spat. But once my cultivation recovers, I'll turn you into dust, demon. Bukthun, still grinning, teased, Isn't this a bit excessive? All this just over a stolen wife? But vinegar drinker Li Tu-Lung's eyes blazed with fury. I swear I'll have my revenge. 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, just you wait. His dramatic overreaction made me chuckle. Why does it feel like he's the real protagonist here? Tu Huyen spoke sternly. The airship is about to land. Brace yourselves. The vessel continued its course through towering mountains and rivers until it arrived at Thenvun's secret realm. Tu Huyen gave a final instruction. This is a sacred ground. Even I don't know what lies within, she said, eyes gleaming. Your mission is simple. Accompany me in finding an artifact. Everything else, improvise as needed. Tio Thien and Li Tu-Lung cupped their fists. Understood. Even Bukthun nodded in acknowledgement, but suddenly Tu Huyen shot a cold, resentful glare at Li Tu-Lung, cursing him in her heart. This useless trash! Yet after a moment she absent-mindedly stroked her hair, questioning herself. Wait, what's wrong with me? Tu Huyen's mind spun in turmoil. Her emotions were in chaos, disturbed by Ko Bukthun, jealous of Tio Thien. She sighed, feeling helpless against her own tangled feelings. Ahead of them, the secret realm loomed. They stepped into a lush green forest, its towering trees casting cool shadows. Breathless at the natural beauty, Tio Thien gasped, Bukthun kaka! It's like a paradise! Bukthun, however, frowned. Saintess, don't you sense something off about this place? The mountains and waters are beautiful, but before anyone could answer, Li Tu-Lung crossed his arms and scoffed. The spiritual suppression here is strong. Everyone's cultivation has been reduced to the foundation establishment realm. You were already in the foundation establishment stage, so you wouldn't notice. Pretty normal. Bukthun pondered deeply. If what his first wife, Tu Huyen, said was true, that both people and the secret realm were suppressed to the early Chukka stage, then he needed to adjust his calculations. His spiritual energy came entirely from the Bakte Fo, and his current cultivation was still at the early Ket Tin stage. The young man furrowed his brows in contemplation. If he wanted to continue breaking through, he had to create the right atmosphere so that Tio Thien would finally call him husband. Just as he was lost in thought, Tio Thien reached out her hand towards him and signaled, Bukthun kaka, the two of us are weak. Let's not act alone anymore. Tu Huyen, upon hearing this, nearly exploded in anger. Inside her mind, she was screaming hysterically. This little vixen, Tio Thien! But she forced herself to stay calm and issued an order. The four of us will form a horizontal formation, spread out to a distance of 10 miles, and search ahead separately. She turned to Tu-Lung and continued, I will take Li Tu-Lung to patrol the outer perimeter, while Bukthun and Tio Thien will stay in the center. Tio Thien was delighted by this decision, while Bukthun casually waved his fan, though his mind was a mess. This first wife of mine is quite hard to understand, always getting jealous over the smallest things. Tu Huyen took out 3 glowing command tokens and handed them to the others, sternly warning, if these tokens light up, report to me immediately. She then looked at everyone seriously. Search carefully first. If we truly encounter danger beyond our ability to handle, we'll decide what to do later. Bukthun took the token and eyed the Saintess with curiosity. Just what exactly does she want us to find? However, she did not answer him directly and only said, This is something I cannot reveal to you. Instead, she merely instructed, "If you notice anything unusual in the secret realm, report it to me immediately." Understood, Saintess. The young man smirked meaningfully while glancing at the token. So, it's not anything too important. If I find it first, I'll just keep it for myself. Tu Lung watched Buktun's departing figure, eyes filled with scheming thoughts. So, you're finally moving alone, huh? Gritting his teeth, he muttered under his breath, Ko Buktun, I will make sure you die. Buktun wandered alone, surveying his surroundings. His hands brushed against tree trunks as he pondered to himself. So this so-called secret realm, is it just a dungeon? It doesn't look particularly special. The dense vegetation made him start speculating. The environment here isn't bad. If I'd known earlier, I would have brought old New here to graze. Suddenly, he scratched his head and scolded himself. Why am I still thinking about cattle herding? I'm not a shepherd boy anymore. Damn occupational habits. Just then, a strange noise came from the treetops. He became alert. What was that sound? A white rabbit suddenly darted out. Buckton's eyes widened in surprise. I understand basic logic, but why is this rabbit so huge? His jaw dropped as he imagined what would happen if the people in the capital saw a rabbit this big. They'd be overjoyed, drooling on the spot. The delicious scent of rabbit meat filled his thoughts, making it impossible to hold back. This thing would make the perfect spicy rabbit head dish. Without hesitation, he grabbed his pot and pan and lunged forward, ready to cook it on the spot. However, the giant rabbit suddenly stared at Buktun, and then it started drooling. Buktun was stunned. Why does this rabbit have such an expression? Realizing he was in danger, he could only gape in horror. Wait, does it want to eat me? With eyes filled with murderous intent, the rabbit lunged at him aggressively. Bucktun's face contorted in panic as he shouted, Shit! He swiftly dodged its attack, gritting his teeth. Could this really be a carnivorous rabbit? Unwilling to back down, he let out a proud roar and unleashed his spiritual energy. Let's see who eats who. But the weak spiritual pressure he emitted was nothing compared to the rabbit's overwhelming aura. The beast unleashed a powerful surge of energy, completely crushing Bucktun's defenses. His spiritual power dispersed instantly. Buktun clenched his teeth and cursed. Damn it! He glared at the rabbit, realizing its strength was not much weaker than old news. Is the strongest being in this world actually just a bunch of damn animals? The rabbit stood up, staring at him with hypnotic, eerie gaze. A sudden dizziness struck him. He clutched his head, groaning in pain. What's happening? A footstep echoed toward him. He panicked and screamed, Who's there? Suddenly, Bucktun's face turned completely red. Before him stood Antuhuyen, dressed as an adorable bunny girl, with fluffy rabbit ears, a shy and reserved expression, and fishnet stockings that exuded an alluring charm. She gazed at him with innocent yet seductive eyes. His heart skipped a beat. Tuyen's gentle, honeyed voice called to him, Husband. Bucktun's mind went blank. He was completely enchanted. He absent-mindedly began humming, white bunny, with ears standing high. Loves eating green carrots, hopping so cutely by my side.